This is the 11th episode of God's Chosen podcast. This episode is near and dear to my heart. Today we are going to talk about relationships as it relates to being a parent in a relationship that may no longer be serving you. We also talk about children and how these relationships can affect them. Enjoy.
What up, chosen ones? I'm back again. Today, I'm going to talk about relationships. You know, we've all been in relationships, right? At this point, we've probably had quite a few, but I'm going to speak on some things in regards to my experiences and, things that I did, things that I wish that I didn't do, and ultimately the outcome of the decisions that I made. A lot of people, they're in relationships that are no longer serving them. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're in a relationship where there's no more growth and it's just stagnation, and you feel like instead of living, you're existing with another person, and you're in your side of the house, they're in their side of the house, and you only come together when it's time to go to sleep, where everything seems like a chore. The smallest request can blow up into an argument, and that's because no one is happy, right? We're just sitting in a situation where we know it's not going anywhere. We know we're not happy, but we're doing it. And then we'll say something like, I said, I got to stay for my kids, I don't want them to grow up in the same environment that I did. I don't want them to grow up in a one-parent household, I don't want that for my kids. But what I realized was, what's worse than a one-parent household is an unhappy two-parent household. Because when you're not happy and when you're not invested in a relationship anymore, it hits different. The vibe is different. You can see it on each other's faces. You know what I mean? We just together because we got responsibilities. We got these bills. We both need a place to stay, and neither one of us makes enough to where we could actually go our own separate way. So we got to stick it out. We got to stay together. And we got to suffer together. Man, I remember those days, man. I remember those days. And that was like low-key depressing. I was depressed. I mean, like, I would wake up depressed. Like, I'm not happy. Like, I feel trapped. You know what I mean? Feel trapped. That's no fun, man. That's no fun. Wake up feeling trapped. And you got to put a smile on because you got little ones and they coming around and they're happy. You know what I mean? They jumping around. They like, hey, mommy, daddy. You know what I mean? They happy. And you can't show them how you really feel. You can't show them that, mommy is not happy, daddy's not happy, but we just going through the motions. We just try to make it work. That's what everybody's telling us, right? That's what we supposed to do, right? Man, looking back now, I'm like, I wish I would have stopped listening to everybody sooner because, as difficult as it was to make that transition, it was a necessary transition because we knew we weren't in love anymore. We knew we were out of love. You know what I mean? Everything literally became an argument. Everything. Because misery loves company. So the smallest thing would turn into the biggest thing. You know what I mean? And it's subconsciously, y'all are both fighting because y'all both want y'all don't want to be the one to be like, I'm leaving. Y'all want the other person to be like, I'm leaving. So that way you don't have to take the blame when other people ask what happened. Nobody wants to own up to that. But you know what? I'm going to say this. You got to be real with yourselves. Okay, so what? All right, look, we grown. We tried multiple times. Yo, this is not working. Why are we still trying to put this circle in a square peg? Why? Why are we still doing this? Why are we hitting our heads against the wall trying to make something work when we know we've gone beyond the point of this actually working? You know what I mean? Why are we doing this? Because we like to torture ourselves? We don't like to be happy? We would rather struggle through a bad situation than be honest with ourselves and be honest with our children? Like, look, baby, mommy and daddy, it's not really working out the way we envisioned it. You know what I mean? We thought that this is what we wanted, but things have changed. You know, our feelings have changed. Our feelings for you are the same. Our feelings for you haven't changed. We love you, but we've realized that we're going to have to love you guys together separately. Because mommy's health is important. Mommy's mental health is important. Daddy's mental health is important. And we want to be the best parents that we can be for you guys. And we don't want to show you guys a bad example of what a relationship should be. We don't want to ruin your perspective on what a relationship should be. So hopefully when you guys grow older, you can actually see or remember, you know, okay, mom and dad did have some problems, but, you know, after, you know, they went their separate ways, they both actually got into healthy relationships with other people. And we saw, instead of one healthy dynamic, we saw two healthy dynamics, and they were very different, but we learned a lot from those different dynamics. You know what I mean? I'm thankful that they actually were mature enough to do the right thing for themselves and for us. So instead of hurting us, they actually helped us learn more than we could have by just sitting there watching them go back and forth and arguing and causing disruption in the home, to where everybody is affected and the whole mood, the whole vibe in the house is killed, crushed. You know what I mean? Nobody wants that. That's not what we're looking for. We all want a stable, healthy, nurturing home environment to grow up in. We all want what's best for the kids. And y'all going back and forth fighting is not what's best for the kids. Y'all living uninspired lives is not what's best for the kids. Been there, done that. Got the t-shirt. You know what I mean? I just wish that I had the courage to do that sooner in my relationship, because what I realized was the longer we try to do the breakup and makeup thing, for one, it's confusing as heck to the kids. The kids are way confused because mommy and daddy can't make up their mind. It's like they don't know what they want. It is better to be honest and make the move that actually benefits everybody, even though it may not seem like at the time that's the best move, but deep in your heart, you know that this thing ain't really what it was, and it's never going to be what it was. And no one desires to actually stay in the situation, but we will tolerate the situation because of finances, because of convenience, because it's a lot harder to do it on your own. For sure, that's definitely true. Not gonna lie, that's not an easy thing. You know what I mean? But it's just like anything else. You didn't come out the womb walking. You figured it out as you grew. You figured it out. You figured out how to co-parent. You figured out schedules and how to still be in each other's lives, how to still support the kids, and how to have a healthy relationship around co-parenting. You figure it out. Everybody is going to figure that out different. You know, everybody's schedule is different. You know, everybody's going to have to navigate that how they do. But it's scary at first because you like, I don't know how I'm going to do X, Y, Z. But you figure it out just like anything else. But you got to take the action. You got to do it. Like, some people, you know, they decide, okay, there's something here that we could save. And if both parties want to save the relationship, then okay, fine. Try and save the relationship if you can. But you got it. The only way that you could save the relationship is to be honest about how you truly feel. And, you know, if you truly want to continue or not. You know what I mean? You just got to be straight up. You got to be honest about that. No shortcuts. You know, I remember growing up, I was probably less than 4 years old. And my dad, R.I.P., he continuously used to put his hands on my mom. A lot. I would hear the crying. I would see the crying. I would see the beating. You know what I mean? I'm a little kid, man. I'm probably like 3 or 4. It's traumatic for me. I'm watching this. And I'm trying to be a big man and step in and try to help. You know? I'm getting tossed to the side, you know? But that was an unhealthy dynamic. My mom got to the point where she eventually left. And I'm thankful I didn't have to see that anymore because that hurt my heart to see that. That actually stayed with me all the way into adulthood. Traumatic experience I had to heal from. And that was because they didn't separate early enough. It was toxic. It stayed toxic. And the longer they stayed together, the more I had to witness, the more trauma I had to clear as an adult. You know what I'm saying? That's not good. It would have been better if they was able to sit down and come to a decision earlier on and help me to avoid years of trauma over those situations that I witnessed. You know? So be careful, man. You gotta understand, like, kids' brains are they're so precious. The thoughts that run through their minds, the things that they see, every experience is precious. They remember the good and the bad. They remember everything. Like, I remember things my parents wouldn't even think that I remember. You know, just witnessed it as a kid. I remember things they probably forgot. Because when you're young, those things get deeply ingrained in your mind because your mind is still developing. And usually kids, they're in an alpha state of mind for most of their day. So in the alpha state, your memory is going to be greatly enhanced. You know, whereas adults, we're walking around in the beta state all day, and our memory is not as good because we're no longer in alpha. You know, kids, they're usually in that state till about 7, 8 years old, where they're just absorbing knowledge, and they just like sponges, you know? But yeah, they remember the toxicity. I remember the toxicity. And you know, I remember one incident where my mom was getting beaten, and in that moment, 3 or 4 years old, in that moment, I made the decision I would never put my hands on a woman. And I know that's crazy because a lot of times it goes the other way, where you see something traumatic like that and you grow up to repeat the behavior because you don't know any better. But I challenge that. I challenge that because me, as a 3 or 4 year old, I made up my mind not to do the very thing that I saw was happening in my house, because I didn't want that to be my life. I didn't want that to be the outcome of a future relationship. I said, no, I'm not going to ever put my hand on a woman. That's not how I roll. That's not what I want my life to be like. And even though no one taught me, no one showed me a good example of that, I made that conscious decision to not let it happen. Just like any one of you can make a conscious decision to change, to do or not do something that would be detrimental to the psyche of your children. You know, for myself, you know, I did the makeup to break up in a particular relationship, children involved, and I was not happy. Just not happy, just depressed, just going through the motions. My kids could see it. You know, I was doing everything I could to not think about the relationship. You know what I mean? I'm in my head most of the time. I'm in my head because that was my escape. That's where I would be. So they would be, people would be talking to me. I'm like, huh? You know what I mean? I'm in my head. Because that was a safe space. There wasn't no fighting in my head. It was just me. And every time we would fight, it would be in front of the kids. You can't, you always can't control it. You don't want to fight in front of your kids, but you always can't control where these things happen. And it's usually something small that escalates into something big. And as a guy, we're like, that didn't even have to happen. But if a woman is in her feelings, she's going to get us in her feelings if she's unhappy, right? The way she does things, the way she says things, it's almost like we're both anticipating a fight because that's where it's gotten to. We're both hurting, we're both unhappy, and we want the other person to feel what we feel it. So if we're depressed, we want to make sure they're depressed. You know what I mean? We both walking around okay, pretending. We both walking around like things are okay when it's really not. To the outside world, everything looks fine. But really, we both know the truth. We know that it's not. We going through the motions in the bedroom just cause we got a body next to us. You know what I mean? We got a body next to us. It's not that we want to do it really per se. We don't get as much pleasure as we possibly could. It's just a fix, really. It's just a fix. That's all it is. It ain't even got the magic. It's just a fix. And we both know it. So we get what we get, and then we roll over to our sides of the bed and go to sleep and pretend like everything is good because we had sex. Everything got to be good, right? We still having sex, so shit is good, right? And we carry on. And sometimes it's when you're alone that things really hit you. When you're alone in your silence and you start thinking about the situation that you're in, and you start crying because you're not happy, but you feel trapped and you don't know what to do. You don't know how to get out because you got so many attachments with the other person. It's hard. It's not just one thing. You got commitments. You got all kind of bills with each other. You got, all kinds of commitments. And you you might share a car. There are a lot of things, a lot of commitments that can tie two people together. Finances, all these things. But let me ask you though, because I had to ask myself, is all this worth my sanity? Is all this worth my happiness? Because if I'm not right, how can I make sure my kids are right? How can I make sure they're getting the best version of me? How can I make sure that some of what I'm going through is not rubbing off on them? I'm not getting snappy with them because I'm unhappy. Don't they deserve to see the best version of me? Don't I deserve to see the best version of me? I owe it to myself, right? I owe it to them, right? Come on. Let's be real. And I know I'm talking, right? But I've been through it. And it's wild because and actually I did it. I've been through it and I did it. You know what I mean? So like, I know what it is. I know what the struggle is. I know how hard it was to leave and actually go and be on my own and build up a place to where my kids could come and feel welcome, and we can go do stuff and have great memories and experiences, and see me smiling and happy, and us smiling and happy, and actually still having a healthy co-parenting relationship. Because sometimes, y'all, whether we want to admit it or not, sometimes, like, the weight of a person can be draining. The weight of a person on your back can be draining. A person can totally change your mood, your reactions. I remember when I used to come in the house and close the door, the tension in the house, the vibes was way off. Like, it didn't make me want to be there. And then I knew some kind of fight was coming. You know, the kids come, try to play it off, play it like everything's cool. But the tension was so great, like, it just made me want to escape. Didn't want to be there. And when you don't want to be there, your partner can tell. 9 times out of 10, they don't want to be there, but they feel like they have to be there. Maybe they want to be there and you don't want to be there. You know what I mean? It's going to vary depending on the situation. But the key is y'all got to be honest with each other. You know, y'all got to be honest with each other, and y'all got to figure out how to make it work. If y'all decide that it may be best for y'all to separate, y'all got to figure that out. But I would say my kids are happier now. They getting to see the best version of daddy. They're getting to see the best version of mama. There's no more fighting. It seems like there's more teamwork now than we ever had, because we're both focused on one thing. We're focused on making the kids happy. We're not focused. We don't have to focus on each other anymore, because the things that used to make us fight was each other. That was the relationship dynamic. That was the problem for us, because we both outgrew the relationship. You know? So that happens in relationships. And back then, I mean, I didn't really know too much about, you know, soulmates or anything like that. I didn't know nothing about that, really. I wasn't even thinking about that. I always heard of the concept. I thought about it, but I never really said, oh, that's for me. Never really thought about it like that. I just thought, that's for other people, I guess. But when I started looking into it, I was like, you know what? Maybe I could have something like that in my next relationship. And so, my journey started there. Before it's an experience, man. I'm gonna tell you, it's an experience. I think it's an experience that everybody should have, though. I'm not even gonna lie. Because when you find a person that just totally is aligned with you, your beliefs, and, you know, who you are as a person, it makes a difference in every other relationship that you have. It makes every other relationship that much sweeter. And everybody can see the glow. It's a glow. Everybody can see the glow. The whole room can see the glow. If y'all in the room together, everybody can see it. But I want y'all to really think about, like, what's really good, man. What's really good? What's the best thing for me, my children, in my current situation? Nobody can tell you what that is. Only you know what that is. I'm out, man. This guy's chosen. Y'all be cool.